time. Yeah, welcome everyone. Always a pleasure to have a group of people together, fellow comrades, students from the Oxford ecosystem, and a lot of people from beyond. I am delighted to be hosting Lily Fishman here today, representing the SENS Research Foundation. As many of you know, SENS has been on the absolute forefront of longevity science research, really not just from the perspective of discoveries and research, but really from the earliest periods of advocacy and carving out this category and drawing attention to it. So we're really delighted to have them here today. We're the Oxford Society of Aging and Longevity. We're the Center for Academic Advocacy, Education, and Research around longevity science in the Oxford ecosystem and beyond. We are delighted to be co-hosting the event today with the Harvard Aging Club. I'd like to give a very brief shout out to Marina Sarazuela, who's on the call today. She is now the president of the Oxford Society of Aging and Longevity this year. We're hosting a tremendous number of in-person events. Hey, Marina, she's here in the chat. Feel free to DM her at any point. Hosting an unbelievable amount of events in Oxford, in person, around longevity. And if you have any questions about the society or want to get involved, please reach out to me or to her. Marina is absolutely incredible and has an amazing year scheduled for us coming up. So without further ado, I'm going to first tell you the boilerplate on SENS Research Foundation for some people here who may not be completely familiar, but then also introduce Lily and what she's going to be talking about. So SENS Research Foundation is building a future free of age-related diseases. SENS Research Foundation works to develop, promote, and ensure widespread access to therapies that cure and prevent the diseases and disabilities of aging by comprehensively repairing the damage that builds up in our body over time. We're redefining the way the world researches and treats age-related ill health while inspiring the next generation of biomedical scientists. And from SENS, we're delighted to have Lily Fishman. She is the Director of Academic Affairs at SENS Research Foundation. At SRF, Lily is responsible for recruiting, selecting, placing, and mentoring students for SRF's academic programs. She's a research scientist by training, earned her PhD in cellular and molecular biology from the University of Toledo, where she led an international team of scientists to discover unique subcellular structure that is critical in fertilization and development in human cattle and sperm. After that, she went on to become a USDA NIFA Fellow following her postdoctoral studies at the University of California, Davis, where she investigated the activation of the embryonic genome to improve developmental rates. Lily is passionate about solving life's biggest problems, how we're born and how we age, when combined with her drive to build equitable representation and advancing training opportunities. Her goal is to inspire and empower the next generation of pioneers in the field of anti-aging. So today's talk is learning longevity. We have a lot of early career enthusiasts, researchers, academics, students in our ecosystem, and we get asked all the time, what next? How do I get involved? What can I be doing in the space? Well, I know of no better organization or no better person to be able to talk about this topic than SENS and Lily. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Lily to take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction and for the kind of words. I'm really honored to be here and to be chatting with you all, and I hope that I can give you guys some insight into some of the opportunities that exist at SENS Research Foundation and in the broader field, of course. I am still not quite able to share, Simon, so I'll let you kick that over. Thank you. Okay, cool. Should be able to do it now. Okay, so you can all see my screen okay? Can I get some thumbs up? All right, well, I saw at least one nod. So anyway, like Simon said, my name is Lily Fishman. I'm the Director of Academic Affairs at SENS Research Foundation. And as he mentioned, I am responsible for selecting, training, mentoring, writing the curriculum, all the things that have to do with our academic programs here at SENS Research Foundation, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. But I want to start off with a little bit first about, where I come from. And I know that Simon kind of briefed on this, but here's my story. I started off in Ohio doing my bachelor's and my PhD in sperm biology and reproduction, which seems kind of different than aging. And then I made my transition out to my postdoc, where I focused on early embryonic epigenetics and the activation of the early embryonic genome. And then I made this big career change to SENS Research Foundation, where I now work, on the opposite end of the spectrum. I focused for the last decade on the first 7 days of post-conception, and now I'm focused on, arguably not the last 7 days, but let's hope for the last 70 years. But that's where my passion comes from, is I love the big questions of biology and trying to challenge life's absolutes. How can we really change biology as a whole for the betterment of society? And, be remiss if I didn't mention a big part of my motivation. This is my late grandmother and my niece and nephew, and I thought it was kind of a perfect representation of where I come from and where I'm going. Like I said, those two hallmarks of, or those two absolutes of life. So enough about me, on to SENS Research Foundation. As Simon mentioned, we are a nonprofit that focuses on anti-aging research. Specifically, we focus on this thing called a damage repair paradigm, which I will explain a little further in detail in a moment. But our big goal here is to, really focus on age-related diseases and ending the diseases of aging and, elongating life. So why damage repair? It might be something that you haven't heard of before. This is kind of the paradigm that we follow. We have, or that biology follows. We have metabolism that produces damage as a byproduct of that same metabolism. So, and that metabolic process is absolutely necessary, and the byproducts of that metabolic process are necessary. So we don't want to impede on that. But then what happens is that damage builds up over a lifetime, which ultimately leads to a pathology, which, is then the diseases of aging that we know. So the two ends of the field right now really focus on geroscience, which are kind of modulating this metabolism process to get rid of the damage or prevent the damage from aggregating, which is problematic for a number of reasons. Just remember that I said those metabolic processes are important. We don't want to impede on those metabolic processes. It also really focuses on lifestyle changes that not everyone has access to, either as a means of not knowing about it, or alternatively, they just don't have the financial or available the privilege to take care of themselves in that way. So this is a great avenue for people that can pursue it, but it's not necessarily where we focus. Similarly, once people have a pathology, we really focus on the standard of care and treating their symptoms. But this is never going to, reverse aging. It's never going to solve the problem. It's just treating the symptoms, which leads us to the SENS Research Foundation approach, which is called, again, damage repair. Our idea is if we can intervene in the process of actually aggregating the damage, we can interfere in this process of leading from normal metabolic processes to the diseases of aging. So that's where I'm going to really focus on today. And you might be asking, I know this is an aging club, so you guys probably know why you should care, but I'll let you know anyway. Your family and friends and even your professors and all those people might be among those that are aging and need these therapies. Also, you too will age and you will want these therapies to be available. If you're not so much into the people part of it, I will mention that there's a huge economic burden here. The economic cost of aging is about 135 billion US dollars a year. And, that's if we could take away even just a little bit of that, that would really help the economy. And then finally, my favorite reason for studying this is the novel biology. There's some really interesting questions here that, like I said, challenging those absolutes of what we know about biology. So I think that's a really exciting place to start from. But any one of these rationales is a good reason to care and a good reason to have you here. So the damage, you may have heard of the hallmarks of aging, but this is kind of our, we initially, our co-founder, Aubrey de Grey, wrote about these 7 approaches to damage and how we were going to address them individually. And they evolved into these 7 different programs, or 7 different strands, we call them, which ultimately has kind of led to that hallmarks of aging paper that you might have heard about. But these are the 7 different focuses that we have. The first one is repleniSENS, which is focusing on replacing cells that are lost. OncoSENS, which is addressing cancer. ApoptoSENS, which is getting rid of the senescent cells that aggregate in our bodies. MitoSENS, which is a process of addressing the propensity of mitochondrial DNA to get damaged as we age. The LysoSENS program, which deals with intracellular waste products, and its counterpart, the AmyloSENS program, which deals with the extracellular waste products. And then finally, GlycoSENS, which deals with the external, the extracellular matrix and how it stiffens as we age. So our, overall goal is to address each and every one of these 7 directions with the hope of ultimately ending aging and age-related disease. So I'm going to talk really quick about 3 of our programs in depth. These are the 3 that are internal in Mountain View, California, but we do address a lot of these in different ways. So I'm going to focus on these 3, but we will come back to the other ones. So the first one, probably the most iconic one, or iconic strand, is MitoSENS. As you may know, mitochondria has its own DNA, and you have a lot of mitochondria per cell. And the interesting part is that 13 genes that are in the mitochondria don't exist in the nucleus. And those 13 genes are unique to mitochondria and are essential for cell respiration. The problem with that is that the mitochondria is also the site of the electron transport chain, which produces a lot of reactive oxygen species, which causes DNA damage. So you have a focus of DNA damage at a huge amount per cell compared to the nucleus, where you only have 1, or 2 copies of DNA in the cell, leads to ultimately the mitochondria have an 100 times higher mutation rate than the nuclear genome, which leads to the likelihood that these 13 genes throughout your life might get damaged and cause other conditions, including sarcopenia, Alzheimer's, lots of other diseases of aging. So our solution to this, our answer to this, is to create backup copies of those 13 genes. And that's what Amutha Bhumathan here is working on addressing. So that's our allotopic expression project, and is one of our longest running project at SRF. Another really exciting, project direction that we are working on is that Apopto program. I mentioned that it was kind of trying to get rid of those senescent cells. So what's happening is that as we age, our cells accumulate damage, and as an answer to preventing cancer, our cells become senescent. And those senescent cells aren't really very good. They don't do their jobs as intended, and they also secrete a lot of inflammatory signaling, but they're also death resistant, which is problematic. So the solution here is that if we could selectively kill senescent cells, then we could get rid of those non-functioning cells and make way for healthy cells. However, this is much more complicated than I'm describing right now. One of the big challenges is that because so many different things lead to senescent cells, not each senescent cell, but a lot of senescent cells are different inherently. So when you're trying to target them, there's no unique signal that you can say, that's a senescent cell. So this is a really big challenge, and something that we're proud to have Dr. Amit Sharma addressing again at our research center in Mountain View, California. So we're very lucky to have that program. And then on the newer end of things, one of the newer programs to us, Dr. Hadi Riba joined us in 2022, and he is working on kind of the counterpart to the Apopto program. once you've killed off those senescent cells, we want to replace them with healthy stem cells that are going to be able to rejuvenate the system. So that is what Dr. Hadi Riba is working on. So I would love to point out to you, we have this brilliant resource with a partnership with lifespan.io, where we created these Life Noggin videos, which do a really excellent job of explaining not just the 3 strands that I've mentioned thus far, but also, you know, in the broader context, all 7 of them, and really making them accessible from any level. This is a great place to start. So I'd highly encourage you to take some time and watch these videos. They're very entertaining. So kind of leading from, you know, SRF as a whole, I want to talk a little bit about the programs that we offer. So the first program and our biggest program is our Summer Scholars Program. Every year we admit about 12 students from all over the US to come either to our Mountain View Research Center or to one of our partner labs. And I'll talk a little bit about where our partner labs are located in a moment. They spend about 10 to 12 weeks with us throughout the summer, and they get that intensive research experience that they might not have gotten during their undergraduate degree. Then we also have our post-baccalaureate program, which is for students who have recently graduated with their bachelor's degree and are looking to kind of take a gap year before they go on to either medical school or graduate school. Sometimes they actually just wind up getting hired on by their host labs. But again, this is about a 9 to 10 month program for that kind of gap year experience. And then finally, we have our newer programs, which really focus on graduate education. So we have 3 different options for graduate students. The first one is an internship, which is for students who are already in a graduate program elsewhere. Now, I'm mentioning this program especially because this program is applicable for students who are on or who are students at international universities. They can apply, and we will consider J1 or sponsoring a J1 to get them to actually come out to Mountain View. These programs are all strictly in Mountain View. These 2 programs, the Summer Scholars and the Post-Baccalaureate programs, can accept international students who are at a US university. But this one is the one that you should be thinking about if you are a student at an international university that doesn't have work authorization in the US. That's a great opportunity to kind of get you out and get you to test it out with us. The other 2 programs that we have, which are, you know, very new and very exciting, we have a partnership with Dominican University of California, where you can get a master's degree in biological sciences while working again in our labs in Mountain View. It's a great opportunity to get a fully funded master's degree and get that research experience and kind of get to have that experience of industry rather than academia, because we're kind of at that in-between point. Very similarly to that, we have a PhD program, which we just announced this past summer. We're really excited about it. It's a partnership with the University of Toledo, where you can get your PhD, again, a fully funded PhD. You get a stipend, and you spend about 5 years with us in Mountain View working on ending age-related disease in industry again. So this is a little bit different if you're, you know, considering getting a PhD, but you're not quite sure if you really want to go the academic or the industry route. This is a great option for you to kind of get a little bit of both and do some really cutting edge research and really translational work. I know, you know, my time in graduate school, getting that really hands-on, like, you know, work that is going to be translated to patients soon is not common. And so this is a really unique opportunity. Again, I've thrown the QR code up here, so please feel free to scan it and take a look at our programs. Our applications are open for summer and post-baccalaureate right now, and they will remain open until January 15th. The graduate programs are open. The internship is open during the summer, the applications, and then the master's and PhD programs are open on a rolling basis. So at any point, if you decide that you'd really like to pursue that, please apply. The sooner the better. We'd love to have more people in those programs. So talking a little bit about what that application process looks like. There is a, you know, standard application. Then we go through an interview process. During that interview process, students are permitted to make their preferences known about placements, because as I mentioned, there are placements all over the country. And then finally, once we've selected our class or our cohort of students, they're placed either in Mountain View or at our partner labs. So those partner labs, they are plentiful. So these are a short list of the labs that we either have had in the last year or are going to have in the upcoming year. The blue ones are ones that we will have in the summer and post-bac term of 2024 to 2025. So if any of those pop out, they will be around. The white ones are ones that are not confirmed, but we've recently hosted in. So these labs are always evolving, and it's very exciting to see different options here. These labs are all labs that we have vetted as being relevant to our damage repair paradigm, focused on anti-aging, and are all labs that have a really fantastic mentoring, a leader that is really committed to mentoring. So these are the possibilities of all the different locations that somebody could be placed if they were admitted into one of our programs. So a lot of the times when I do these talks, people ask me the question of, what is the most important thing? Or I don't have a great GPA, so should I even bother applying? Or they ask me these questions about it. And I will be very transparent here and say the most important things for me are the recommendations, the interview if you are selected for one, and the statements. And then once we get through the interview stage, the skill summaries that you submit during the application process become really critical. And one of the things that's most interesting to the PIs is cell culture experience. So if you have cell culture experience already, you're already have a great setup for you. Lower priority items, things I don't really look into, are grades, the university, and the major. I think that good students can be found, not good students, great students can be found everywhere. And so please don't worry about your university. If you're an English lit major, you are fully eligible to apply. I would hope that you have some experience to show that that's really what you want to do, but definitely doesn't matter the major. Similarly, I think that grades aren't always depictive of success in the lab, and so we don't really pay a lot of attention to grades. So please don't hesitate to apply. There's opportunities for everyone, and I think that that's one of the great things about our programs, is that we accept a really wide range of students, which means that all kinds of students have a chance to learn from each other. So another kind of going into this further into how to be successful as an applicant for one of our programs, but also I think that these lessons are kind of bigger than just our programs. There's lessons to be learned here from just being a scientist. So as I mentioned, prior experience is one of the most sought after moments in our application process. People really, the PIs are really looking for cell culture experience, as I mentioned. Also flow cytometry, immunofluorescence, mouse handling, and Western blots are all among the requests that I get the most of. So if you can manage to get into your university at home and find a position part-time, working in the lab, it's a great opportunity for you to gain this experience and also get that really fantastic letter of recommendation that's going to lead to successful admission into our programs. Then we kind of go into, again, those things that I look for in the statements and in the interview process. The things I look for are resiliency, and the ability to kind of see the forest through the trees is the way I say it. But so resiliency, what I'm looking for here is trying to understand if what it's like to deal with repetitive experimental failure. I think any scientist will tell you, sometimes you spend days, weeks, months, years even doing the same experiment over and over and over again, trying to make it work, optimizing variables and all these kinds of really challenging scenarios. And that can kind of demoralize somebody. And so I really look for students who are aware that of this challenge and are ready to take it on, have shown an example of resiliency and ability to manage that kind of challenge. As I mentioned, the other big thing I look for is the ability to see the forest through the trees. A lot of the time students get really focused on these minute details. They're running PCR and they want to tell me about, the individual primers that they changed and all these really fantastic details that show that they really understood the experiment that they were doing. But then when I ask them the question of, what does this mean for the broader picture? Who is this going to help? How is this applicable? They have a hard time answering that. So what I'm looking for here is more of the question of, what is the bigger picture of your work, and what are the implications of those minute details that you're working on? So keeping that big picture in mind, you need to be able to see both the details and the big picture. And then finally, and I think this is probably the biggest thing that you should know as a scientist, is your why. You may have gotten the the perspective that when I was explaining my history, that my why is I like, those big scientific questions, but that's not the same case for everyone. And I think that knowing your why and knowing what's going to get you out of bed when it is a hard day, or knowing what's going to, get you that extra hour to push through to get that paper published, those are the things that I'm trying to figure out, is why are you so passionate about this? And so those are kind of the tools for success that I think that all students can use, but especially, again, students that are applying for our programs. So I have a short video here. I'm not sure if we will get the sound to work, but I can kind of chat over it. Oh, you guys can see how many. Can you guys hear it? No?
I could see it, but I can't hear it.
Okay. Well, this is just a short this is just a short video kind of our students and their day-to-day lives, going through the different locations that they're placed. They get a really fantastic, experience. Like I said, we're interacting with this cohort of students that are all working on different projects, as well as, these really research intensive moments. They get fantastic opportunities to present their data, both internally and then also externally at our annual event. We do a Ending Aging Forum or conference, so they get to present at that, and that kind of leads me to a little bit of why our program is different than others. In addition to the fact that we are, at that apex of industry and academia, and also because we are, pioneers in the field of anti-aging, I'll mention that one of the reasons why our programs are so unique is that we give students a kind of a two-pronged approach to learning. We give them both the scientific training that they experience in their host lab, but they also are able to work with me and our education team. I'll mention Leonardo Rodriguez is actually in the chat right now, and he is our science education specialist. So together you get not only the research training, but you get soft skill training. You get to learn about how to present, how to communicate your research to a broad audience. You get application training if you're working on grad school applications, or working on writing things. So not just hands-on technical training, but also these kind of soft skills that sometimes kind of go by the wayside, especially during the training periods. So with that, I'm just throwing up our QR codes here for applying to our programs. And then also we have a newsletter, which you should all sign up for. It gives a lot of great information about what we're doing in a research perspective, and also our active programs and some features on our students. And if you have any questions at all, please go ahead and throw them in the chat. But if you want to ask me later, you can always direct questions to education@sens.org, and we will get right back to you and tell you all the answers to any of your questions. With that, I can see that there is a question in the chat. An age limit for the graduate program. So somebody was asking about that. Let me actually flip back to that slide really quick. So there are no age limits to any of our programs. We have had a few more non-traditional students apply before, but there are graduation requirements. So for the summer program, you must either not be graduated from you may not have a bachelor's degree yet, or you must have received it in the spring of the year that you're applying. So this application cycle, I would expect that people have graduated no later or no sooner than May of 2024 or June of 2024. For a post-baccalaureate program, there's a 2-year window. So the eldest of the post-baccalaureate students will have graduated in 2021. So 2021, 22, and 23. Sorry, I had that wrong. It's 22, 23, and 24. That you can still apply for this program. For the graduate programs, there is no cap. As long as you are actively in a graduate program, you're more than welcome to apply for the internship, whether it's a PhD, MD, PA, JD, PhD in literature. Again, I'm not paying attention to the major as much as I am about the experiences of the student. And then for the master's and PhD programs, those are definitely open to students of any level, provided that they meet the minimum requirements of both our institution as well as the degree awarding institutions. I know I'm a little bit quicker than planned, but I'd love to answer any other questions that anyone may have.
I've actually got a few questions. I mean, thank you so much for the presentation, and I will just let me open up the chat to see as things come up. First of all, yeah, thank you so much. That was really fantastic. I loved your emphasis on the multidisciplinary backgrounds and the openness to that. I mean, not just speaking from personal experience, but knowing how aging is as complex as it is. It's really as complex as biology itself. And I think that to really to take on aging requires, I would say, probably the most creative and unconventional framework to science or medicine as there is out there. So I definitely think there's a place for people from let's say non-traditional backgrounds to come in and support. I also really want to underline and emphasize the work that you do to make sure that it's not just academic training, but career training and industry soft skills support, because those two really go hand in hand. Of course, as you spend more time in your career, you realize that, you know, skills, let's say education is important, but there's often a glass ceiling before, you know, certain skills and understandings are required to really get your voice across. So thank you for that as well. The question I had, I have two questions. One, the hallmarks, as you know, have been expanded and they've changed. So I was just wondering how SRF is thinking about that in its targets. If there's any view towards expanding the strands that you guys are interested in, or yeah, basically what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so we that's kind of getting more into our science end of things, but I can say we have a research development committee which votes on more of the research minded decisions, which I'm a member of that committee as well. And we consider things like that, like expanding the 7 strands frequently. And so as more research comes in, we look at our research and say, do we need to expand it? And I know that we've gone up to like 13 hallmarks now. And kind of our perspective is still that these 7 kind of cover those 13, that you can combine things in a different way. And I think these 7 approaches still are our answer. But again, as new things evolve in the world, we definitely are an evolving organization that will continue to consider new approaches. We're not married to the approach as much as we are as married to the solution. So yeah, that's kind of the answer to that one.
Awesome. I also want to call on Jason, if you don't mind asking the question. I'm happy to ask it for you, but I think it's a lovely question. Jason Young. Or I'm happy to read it out. Could you comment on how one could be involved with solving longevity as career in a non-academic way? For some practical reasons, I wouldn't be able to pursue an academic journey for about 5 years. After that time, I could start academic work, but I'm desperately wanting to get involved as soon as possible. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, we get a lot of people who really want to interact with our work and to contribute, even if they don't have the biological training that is kind of considered traditional. So there's kind of 2 ways to approach that. First of all, we always have an option for volunteers. If, we do have some projects that kind of fringe on physics and mathematics. So if you go to our website to the Work With Us page. I believe there's a section that says volunteer, and you can enter in some details about your experience and where you might be they may be able to help. And then if the skill set that you have matches with one of our projects, then somebody will reach out to you and get you involved. In a non-volunteer perspective, we also have a lot of positions that come up on our Work With Us page. We've grown, I believe we've doubled in the last year. So with that comes a lot of scientific positions, but also a lot of support positions. And I think that all positions, in this journey, whether you are actually doing the bench work or supporting the scientists, either one is desperately needed. And you should definitely take a look at our Work With Us page. And I think that my director of development would knock me on the head if I didn't say the other great way to work with us is to donate. So I'm so sorry. I'm gonna. Oh, you're good. So sorry. I'm actually dealing with my own age-related family member at this moment, so I've got a little bit of commotion back here. But anyway, yeah. So I think that the three best ways to get involved are either to look at our volunteer page, our Work With Us page, and, like I said, donate.
Amazing. Thank you, Lily. Another question for those, and thank you for giving such a thorough overview of the work that SENS does. And I know that this is just scratching the surface. And SENS is really a fantastic starting point for someone on their journey who wants to think about ways of getting involved. But I wonder if you have some suggestions on sister organizations or other resources or places that early career researchers might look at or go to if they want to pursue some sort of further education or training.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that this list of labs here, like I said, these are labs that we support and, we know or we think are doing good work that we would like to see continued. So obviously these labs are a great starting point if you're looking for an academic, contact. I'll also mention the Buck Institute, which we aren't actively working with right now, but we have in the recent past, and we will continue to do so. So the Buck Institute is a really fantastic organization that, like you said, a sister organization. We also work closely with lifespan.io and kind of a few other players in the field. I'll mention our end of year campaign is just starting. And so this year we are focusing on our collaborations with other organizations. So if you watch our social media pages, our newsletter, all of that in the next 2 months, you'll see a bunch of highlights of different organizations that we work with and how supporting them can also benefit SRF. So it's a really great question about partnerships. And I know that it's especially relevant because I know Young is one of our partnerships for this coming season. So it'll be very exciting to see all of that play out.
Awesome. And just out of curiosity, Lily, I know, SENS has been active for a while, and really from a time and place where talking about ending aging was really taboo and really wild. And I think in this last year alone, you could argue that more public consciousness has changed in the past year than it has in the past 2 decades. Just curious as to how your work has changed, how maybe the different types of students who are applying have changed, how the programs are changing. What's different this year and going forward that you're noticing from the years prior?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not sure I have or I'm not sure I am the best person to answer that question. I joined the organization about 2 years ago. So in the past 2 years, what I've seen is a lot of students that are really passionate about research and about aging, and that's really been the focus. And these are our students are what I consider to be, I always think if I had to compete with these students as a student, I don't know if I would be successful, but they are very brilliant students. And so I think that as we go through, as we continue down this journey, we're seeing that the students are becoming more and more excited and more motivated. So I think that's true. But as far as the changes over the years, I know our programs have always been in quite high demand. So I think that that's relatively consistent. I'm afraid that's probably not the answer the answer you were looking for there.
Well, I guess, yeah, it's just getting more in demand.
Yeah. And I will say that, as a scientist coming from an outside field, like I said, I came from the world of reproduction. Um, when I started in this field, people would say that it was kind of more of a burgeoning field or something a little more on the outskirts of, conventional biology. And I read about it when I was considering this position, and the science is all there. I don't consider this to be non-traditional science. The science is there. It makes sense. If you talk to anyone who reads about the research itself, you'll see that, it's a very logical process. We're headed in a very logical direction. And, I see a group of people who are passionate and well equipped to solve this problem.
Fantastic. We've got another question. Are there any plans to set up a SENS branch in the UK?
Yeah, so there is a SENS UK or an SRF UK branch, but I believe that's just for donation purposes. There have been placements in the past in UK schools, and I am actively considering that. So this list of labs that we are accepting or placing students at, that list gets changed every year. And so I'm actively reading the research to try to see if there are universities that we should consider partnering with. And if I find one that is in the UK, then I'm absolutely going to push through to try to place students in the UK. And we have some discussions, not just about doing that in the UK, but doing that in other countries as well. So not necessarily this year, but hopefully soon.
Great. And then an extension of that. Are there any other companies or academic partner institutions in Europe that you guys are working with?
I'm not as familiar with that part, because that is definitely a development question. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have the answer for that one specifically.
Okay. And then Jen Bao, Jin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes. Hi, thank you, Lily. I'm from China. I'm 10 years. I have left school 10 years ago. So, yeah, as the question I raised in the chat room, I'm a meditation teacher. I'm in China. I think aging is not only an issue of science, but also an issue of philosophy. In my case, I'm also concerned about the issue of aging because I'm now 50 years old. But meditation helped me a lot. And my approach of meditation is not only based on Buddhism, but also based on Taoism. Which consumes the energy flow. And I think this could be a new perspective for the science of anti-aging, the energy flow. So I now actually also helping older people to practice meditation so that they can be rehabilitated and energized. But I wish to find some partners to do scientific research on how exactly meditation is related to the effect of anti-aging. Yeah. So is there such opportunity for like some cooperation? Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think we've had anything similar in the past, but that doesn't mean that it won't ever happen. So typically new research projects go through an application process through our research development committee, which I mentioned before. There is on our website under the research tab, there's a section for submitting a grant proposal. And what that would consist of is describing the work. It's a letter of intent. And so it's only about it's like a page and a half long. It's pretty short considering most grants,
Mhm.
to kind of say what you want to do. And then at that point, we vote on it as a committee. And then if you're selected, or if the committee selects it, then this committee will then invite people to write full proposals. And if those full proposals are funded, then we will actually fund those kinds of projects. So I'm very much personally open to the possibility, and I could kind of see some kind of thought where, if there were damage that were produced by the body that meditation was actually able to remove. Again, we really focus on, like I said, this damage repair paradigm. But if it fits, it fits. So I would highly encourage you to kind of think about this project from this kind of perspective. And if there's room for it, submit an LOI to our research development committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, I think that's I think this is part of a broader conversation within the longevity field about how do we define longevity, and what are we trying to solve for when it comes to longevity. And of course, there's especially in the last year, no shortage of people and scientists and really thoughtful people coming in and giving different perspectives. Of course, you have the new Blue Zones documentary that came out that's talking about social relationships and the value of social relationships in terms of longevity. Mental health longevity is a big area. But I think yeah, just to underline Lily and what she said, when thinking about applying to a program like this, or really thinking about applying to any program, different organizations or different people are going to have different problem sets they're trying to solve for when it comes to longevity. And that's really part of the exciting, the excitement around longevity, because to a certain extent, it is still being defined. We're still trying to think of what it means to solve for this problem. But yeah, I think, Jason, you also, your question in the chat, would you say that the 7 categories of damages will practically be comprehensive? Do you see any sign of expansion? I think that really falls within that broader question. What is our definition of these hallmarks, or whatever you call them, and how would that change over time? So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, and like I said, we reevaluate. That research development committee is really at the core of our organization, trying to figure out if, the path that we've taken on is really the best path. And I will say, looking at it from my perspective, that I still think that the damage repair paradigm is the best approach that I've seen. I think it gives us the best options of helping not only people who don't want to age that are younger, but also helping people who have already reached a pathology. So by intervening in that damage aggregation process, you can both reverse disease and prevent disease. So I still think that this is our best route forward, but it is something that we evaluate all the time. So we are open-minded to anything that may come up.
100%. No, and yeah, I agree. And it's incredible that these foundational tracks have really stood the test of time despite everything that we've learned. So it really is a testament to how fantastic they are. So I want to give one last call for questions to Lily or to the world. Okay. Lily, any closing comments?
No, I mean, I'm just, again, really happy to be here, and I hope that maybe you guys will consider applying for our programs or share with those who may be interested in applying. If you have any questions about the application process and like I said, eligibility in particular, let me make that white so you can actually see it. Eligibility in particular, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm more than happy to chat with you about the programs, eligibility, and if you don't fit these programs but think you could in some other way, please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. So that's education. Oh, I misspelled that. Sorry.
That's okay. It makes sense.
Education at sens.org without the E. Reach out to to them or to me if you have any follow-on questions. This session has been recorded, so we'll be sharing this onwards, and feel free to share with your friends who may have missed this. But thank you all for joining. Thank you.